Hello everyone, so in this video I'm going to show you how to hook up the AEM CD7 full colour display dash to the Adaptronic Modular ECU. So in this case we're using an M2000 ECU. You can use any of the plugins or wiring so long as it's a modular ECU. Some of the modular ECUs actually support 2 CAN channels, most don't though, so for those ones you can use either of these 2 channels. Now there are 2 ways to do it. The first way, which is the easiest way but it's quite limited in what you can do, is to actually emulate the Haltech version 2 protocol. Which also will work with other dashes as well. And the other way is to use the Adaptronic native CAN output format. And I'll tell you about the limitations and issues of each as we go. Okay, so first of all, the connection is with a 4-wire connection, just like the race packs. They've got red and black, which is power and ground, different colors from the race pack. And white and green is CAN, so white is CAN high and green is CAN low. The dash is configurable with different bit rates, and so is the ECU, so we just need to make sure that they're set to the same bit rate. And I'll just go through how to do that. So the first thing you do is in the AEM software you need to load a dash configuration. So I started with one which was sent to me by the awesome, excellent Aaron Parker. And then you can go into the setup display. On the CAN receive tab, you need to select 1 megabit per second as the baud rate and switch on the termination resistor. And after doing that you can go to the import CAN button and then load the pre-configured Haltech configuration which comes with the dash software, and the actual file name is haltech v2 rev1.aemcan. Now once you open that, it will give you a whole list of conflicts which are because the dash is already configured for use with the AEM ECU, so you just need to click all and then replace, so it overrides all the channels from the AEM dash. Now on the Adaptronic side of things, what you need to do is set the bitrate to be 1 megabit per second again. Select terminate on so that the CAN bus is terminated at each end, so once at the ECU and once at the dash. And then select the output mode to be Haltech V2 and disable the Adaptronic mode, unless you want to use it for something else, but if you do then you'll have to use it at a different address, because the Haltech uses the range of 360 hex up to, I guess, 3FF, so you won't be able to use the Adaptronic address range. Okay, so once you've done that, you can connect them like this, and then you can watch it all work. You can change all the variables, watch them change, so I'm changing throttle position there. Now there are a couple of things that are a little bit not obvious, so I'll just go through those. The first one is this channel here called boost actually reads the Haltech map variable. So map is manifold absolute pressure, which is the same way that we encode it as well. So this showing 32 kPa there at the moment, which is actually what an engine would be, say, at idle. So it's on a vacuum condition, because 32 is less than 100. Normally in my experience when people say boost and they want to see it on a gauge, they actually want to see a gauge pressure. So a positive number would be that the engine's in boost and a negative number would mean that it's in vacuum. So in that case you would actually want to display manifold gauge pressure, and you can do that easily with the Adaptronic, which I'll talk about a bit later. So just a bit of a warning that when you set it up, that's what you expect, but you'd get the same thing with the Haltech ECU as well. The other thing is that there seem to be some channels which the Haltech sends out, which the dash is not programmed to receive. So one of them is this Lambda Target, for example. The Haltech sends that out and we send that out on the same channel, but it doesn't appear there. Now when you manually add it into the AEM dash configuration as another CAN receive channel, then it works, and you can read up how to do that with the AEM software if you want to. Now the second way to do it is to actually use the Adaptronic native protocol instead. So with the native Adaptronic protocol, the ECU can send out any of the variables which are standard and built into the ECU, and there's a set which are always sent out configured. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disable the Haltech output, so you see that all the numbers have stopped there on the dash, and then what I'll do is I'll enable the Adaptronic output, and you'll see the numbers will sort of jump a bit because it's because the dash is still configured to read the Haltech version, but the ECU is actually sending out the Adaptronic protocol. Now to read the Adaptronic CAN configuration, you can actually create a DBC file, which is a CAN description file, from within the Eugene software, or you will be able to, and that will actually give a list of all the channels which are being sent by the ECU for the given ECU configuration. So if you've enabled additional outputs to be sent, then they will appear in the DBC file, and if not, then they just won't appear. We've also generated the standard DBC file, which just shows the variables which are always transmitted. I've also got the full DBC file, which includes all the variables that can ever be transmitted. The problem with just loading in the full one is that it means that you've got a lot of variables to search through when you're trying to configure the display, and also the display software doesn't look like it was ever built to handle that many variables. It's very slow to operate when you've got all those loaded. So the way to do it, well, the way that I've done it anyway, is to actually delete all the previous CAN channels that are already set up for the AEM ECU, so that we don't get confused with things of different names and, you know, which one's the right one to pick, and then import the DBC file. So I've got a DBC file here which I've already configured for the Adaptronic protocol, and so I'll just plug in the USB thing to reprogram the dash. Just load that, and I'll just send that to the dash. Playing set, program flash, okay, disconnect. Here we go. So now you'll see a picture of Aaron's awesome car there, and now we're reading all the values from the ECU using the Adaptronic native protocol. So in this mode, we can actually set up, you know, any of these to read whatever values we like. The other thing is that the DBC file can be output to display any sort of different units. So in this case, because Aaron's in America, I've selected Fahrenheit and PSI for the temperature and pressure units. And in this case, that's actually displaying the gauge pressure. So it's actually -10 PSI, which is about -20 inches mercury. The dash doesn't allow you to have different units for vacuum and boost. So if you want to do it this way, then you'll have to see, you know, PSI for both conditions. And I'm also showing AFR as a petrol AFR, so lambda times 14.7 to 1. And of course you've got the other screens where you can you know, set up other things and warnings and all that sort of thing, but I'm not going to get into all that now. So the software allows you to generate different DBC files depending on which units you want to display on the dash. So that saves you going through and reconfiguring all the units manually, because the dash is not itself unit aware. So yes, thank you very much. We'll have a proper video out on this later with screenshots and everything as well, but I just thought I'd give you guys a bit of an update.